Allow me to reintroduce myself. Hi, my name is Bianca. And if you're new here, I have created this channel for Generation Xers who are tired of the 9-to-5 life and are looking for a way out. So, why did I even get into real estate to start with? I was 27 years old, pregnant with my first child, and I was working for the unemployment office. Yes, the unemployment office. I worked in a call center, and to be perfectly honest, I feel like as soon as I gave up, meaning I said, well, I guess this is what life is all about. I am going to keep working in this office, picking up the phone, having people cuss me out on a day-to-day basis about their unemployment checks. And as soon as I said, well, I guess this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 40 years, I'm just going to retire from this career. As soon as I was like, this is all life is about, is going back and forth to work, having the house, the husband, the kids on the way, I thought, okay, well, I give up. This is what I'm going to be doing. As soon as I said that, everything was ripped out from underneath me. I even remember the overalls that I had on and how cute I looked with my little pregnant belly. And we were all called into a meeting. There were 150 of us who worked at this call center. And they basically tell us that our call center is being shut down. And if we wanted to, we could move a couple of hours south. They would give us a $250 stipend to move, and we could still continue to work for the state of Texas if we wanted to. So I said, hell no. It really wasn't that much of a thing that I had to think about. And my husband made a lot more money than I did. I was only making like $28,000 a year. I said, look, they're laying us off. And he was like, okay, no problem. And I was like, are you kidding? No problem. I'm freaking out. We had 2 car payments at the time. We had a mortgage. And even though my money wasn't the money that was like paying all the bills, I was like, my money still helped. We needed 2 incomes. If we didn't, then I wouldn't have been working. So I was a little bit panicked. My husband wasn't quite as panicked as I was. Now, one thing I can say is the state of Texas did give us enough notice about the office shutting down and moving and all that kind of stuff, where I was able to go ahead and have my baby. I went on maternity leave for like 6 weeks. Then I came back, and I think I worked about a month or 2 later, and the office was officially closed. I did have a family member that was like, you know what, you should go ahead and go on job interviews while you're pregnant. They'll be like, wow, she knows she's getting laid off, but she happens to be pregnant and she's going on interviews. I did not take that advice of the family member, and I did not go on any job interviews while I was pregnant. So I got the unemployment check from the unemployment office. I can't even script this type of stuff. The things that happened to me, and I can only laugh at some of the things that have happened to me, but I have my baby. I get my unemployment checks and a little severance that they gave us. And I was at home with my baby, loving the fact that I was home, but I knew that I was going to be needing to get a job. And I just started thinking about what I like to do. And I knew that I love to watch HGTV, decorating and watching people transform their homes and stuff like that. Like, that was my jam. It still is. And so I sat down and I said, well, what is it that you like? So I was trying to take stock of the things that I like to do. I didn't have a design degree or anything like that, but I had decorated our entire first home. I was considering going to school for interior decorating. And then I said, I don't know if I want to make that commitment because it's going to be a long time. Next thing I thought about was real estate. I was like, I could get my real estate license. Like, woo, that would be something that would be cool. I don't have to clock into a 9-to-5 job. Getting my real estate license is like the perfect thing to do. And then I got my real estate license. But then reality hit. as it always does. After I got my real estate license, my husband at the time was like, okay, so when are you going to start actually making money with this? It seems like it's just a hobby. And he was right. All I did was get in my car and roll around with this lady who was supposed to be my trainer at Keller Williams. That was the first real estate company I signed on with. And all we did was go to new home builders. We went to their open houses and we ate food. And I was like, this is great. This is fun. Oh my gosh. After I left Keller Williams, because I did absolutely nothing there, I found a company called Zip Realty. And with Zip Realty, it was very like corporate, but in the real estate world. It's kind of hard for me to describe it. But basically, we would get leads from home. As soon as a lead popped and they were ready for a showing, then I'd run over to my parents' house, drop my daughter off, go do the showing, go back, pick my daughter up, rinse and repeat. And I really didn't make that much money. I did that running myself ragged for about 6 months. And then one day, Zip Realty posted an office job. It was basically a transaction coordinator, somebody who kind of worked to make sure that the commissions that were owed to our agents were received. And when I saw that and I saw how much they were paying for that job, I was like, okay, I've only made maybe 20 something thousand, $25,000 doing this hustle that I'm doing, which is running over and having my parents watch my kid and doing that whole thing. It might be more fun to have a stable income. So I went home, I talked to my husband, and I was like, this position was posted. This is how much it pays. I would be in the office Monday through Friday. What do you think? And he was like, yes, do it. A stable check that you get all the time, I'm down for it. And I mean, honestly, I was too. But really, after I signed on, I would say 3 weeks later, I was kind of like regretting not having the freedom of just being at home and waiting for my leads to pop and whatnot. But anyway, then a year later, I get laid off from Zip Realty. They said, you know what? We have enough transaction coordinators. The industry, or the real estate industry, has crashed. And we decided that we're going to have one transaction coordinator per state. So you were one of the last one hired. So sorry, we got to let you go. You'll be one of the first ones fired. Again, I can't make this stuff up. It's like as soon as I think, okay, I'm doing something that is predictable, that's giving me regular income, I'm not chasing a commission check, boom, I get laid off again. And I got my unemployment checks from them. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can stay close to the real estate industry. I put my resume online and I just hope for the best. I kept up my continuing education to keep my real estate license. So I got a call from a home builder. Next thing you know, I have a regular Monday through Friday job again. However, I hated that job. I hated the commute. I hated the person that ended up being my manager. I hated the other management team members that I had to work with. I was a miserable, unhappy person. 6 months after I started working for that builder, I knew that I just didn't want to be there anymore. But the problem was, I kept putting my resume out there and putting my resume out there. Nobody would call me while I was employed for that particular builder. I started falling down the internet rabbit hole and I found people making money online. And that's how I got introduced to my first MLM. And by the time I started working for this builder, I was like in my early 30s maybe. All of the people who were making the big money, it seemed like, were in their 20s. I didn't even know what an MLM was. I just fell into this online internet making money from home world. because I was trying to find an escape from that builder. I just did not want to work the 9 to 5 job. I was always stressed because it was on the other side of the world from where I lived. I was commuting back and forth to work. I was scarfing down my food at my desk. I was stressed. Every time I looked at the clock, I would be like, it's 4:59. In order for me to be able to get my children from the aftercare on time and not be charged an overtime fee, I have to get the heck up out of here. All day, every day, I was a mean, miserable person. So when I stumbled upon that internet, let's make money from home crew, it was with an MLM called Wake Up Now. If anybody remembers that era from Wake Up Now, shout out to you. But that was my MLM era. That was me trying to figure out, like, how can I leave the 9 to 5 life? At the same time, I still had my real estate license. It was on pause or whatever. I wasn't actively selling homes. My marriage was falling apart at that time. A lot of it may have had to do with the fact that I was super unhappy with my 9 to 5 job. We won't go into that on this video. I just did the craziest thing ever. And because I was not getting anybody to call me back, nobody's responding to my resume. My husband wasn't living in the house with me and the kids anymore at that time. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but after I saw everybody's success that I followed in this MLM, I decided just to quit my job. Cold turkey. I had no backup plan. Nobody had called me to say, hey, we're hiring you. You can come on and work for us. For about 6 months, I lived off of the money that I had saved. I thought to myself, what was holding me up with success for the MLM was the fact that I had a 9 to 5 job. No, girl, I was tripping. I almost lost my car, but it was a very crazy time. And a lot of people would be like, well, why didn't you just go back to trying to sell real estate? It's because I just really knew that wasn't what I really, really wanted to do. After that fiasco, another builder gave me a call and was like, come work for us. So then I went back to the 9 to 5 grind. My kids were a lot older then. But again, I started to get this feeling like this is not my destiny. I'm not meant to just get in a car, drive to an office, spend 8 hours a day working my fingers to the bone and not making very much money.
I'm so glad most of us is on the same page when it comes to this, because I'm just like, where is the book on adulting? Like, where the hell, how are we? Because I'm just winging it. I swear to God, I'm just winging it. And I'm kind of jealous of the generation before us, like our parents' generation and shit. Like, I'm jealous that they were so fortunate to be brainwashed. They were fortunate to be brainwashed because society just told them to go to school, get a degree, get a career, get married, go to church, and work the job 40 years, die. And it was just like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And then our generation is like, but nah, like are you sure? Like, cause I hate that my generation, it's a blessing and a curse that we had to figure out that we were getting brainwashed, and we had to figure out the system was broken, and we was just like, nah, this don't feel right. So now,
Editing Bianca here. I just included that clip of that young man because I think it's hilarious that the generation that he's referring to is my generation. And of everyone that I know that is in my generation, I have always been the one like that they consider to be a weirdo. Why am I like complaining? Why don't I just go to work, clock in and out? And I've always hung out with people that were way younger than me. I don't know. I think I'm just confused about the era that I was born in. But I think all of this is a scam. And I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that what has always been is not, it just doesn't feel right. I feel like we're collectively waking up. Okay, I'm done.
So there was no privacy. I remember looking up from my computer and I was looking around at everybody and I'm like, this cannot be life. Like, all we're doing is sitting in this room, staring at a computer and typing on our screen. So the next day, I was just super, super annoyed. They were piling work on top of me. And she said something. I will never forget how all the color from her face like drained when I did this. When I look back on it, I know that I shouldn't have, but I was really just at my boiling point. I'm so sick of this 9 to 5 grind. She told me about some additional duties that they were adding on to what I had to do. I said, "Yeah, mule, yeah!" Just that loud. I don't know what came, well, I do know what came over me. But anyway, I really did just yell out like that. About a week later, I got an offer from another builder to go and work for them. And I gave my resignation. They were like, "Child, you can leave now." I trained somebody for about 2 days, but they didn't want me in their environment anymore. And I understand it because I was checked out. I was like, I'm over this. So I'm back. I'm in a different location. My camera battery shut off. So where I left off last was I was just basically talking about, I gave that company a resignation letter, and 2 days after I gave them their resignation letter, they said, "You don't even need to work or finish out your 2-week notice. You can go ahead and leave now." And then the next builder that I went to work for paid me more money, which was a bonus, but hated that job. It was similar to what I was doing for the previous builder, but I really, really hated that job. I hated that job so much, in fact, that I resigned within under a year. At my big age, I've never worked a 9 to 5 where I gave a resignation and I left with less than a year put in. So anyway, I give a resignation to that particular builder. Timeline between when I got hired at my first builder to then had been quite a few years. I've been going through this in and out of being in the 9 to 5 world. And at that point, I said, you know what? I have experience selling real estate. Let me just go ahead and ask a new builder if I can go into sales for them. I'm tired of being in the back office, slaving away. I don't get any bonuses, any commissions for any of these homes that close. Let me go work for sales. So I get hired on with another builder after the last one that I had resigned from. And there I thought, yay, I finally am in sales for a builder. So I'm going to make buckets and buckets of money, because every support position that I had prior to working for this builder, I got to see the salespeople's commission. I was like, these salespeople make buckets and buckets of money, and all they do is they sit there in the model home. Real estate agents bring buyers to them, or the marketing department brings buyers to them. They just sit there, collect leads, and close on homes. And so I thought that was the perfect convergence of what I had done before. So I knew how the back office stuff worked for builders. And then I was able to go into sales. But then what happens is the pandemic happens. And when you work for a builder, they can place you anywhere. So even though I was relieved because I wasn't doing that regular 9 to 5 grind, getting in the car, driving, doing a regular Monday through Friday 9 to 5, when I worked for that particular builder in sales, it was nights and weekends, which makes sense because with nights and weekends are when people are out shopping for homes. I missed things that had to do with my family, things that had to do with my kids, because I was chasing a commission check. And then one day it hit me. I'm not looking for commission, I'm looking for freedom. And once that light bulb went off, when the pandemic hit, I was sitting in a trailer. I was just basically becoming friends with the other salesperson that I was in a trailer with. I was driving over 130 miles a day just to get to that trailer to sit there and wait for people to come in. And nobody was coming in during the pandemic. So for a period of about 9 months, I made no commissions, I made no money, and I was desperate. And I said, you know what? We're going to take that dusty real estate license off the shelf And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go and use our real estate license again. And I came upon a company. They were saying, hey, do you have your real estate license? You're not interested in paying MLS fees or MLS board fees. Anybody in the real estate industry, you know, you pay all of these fees to all of these services and things like that just to have your license. And the advertisement said, guess what? You don't have to pay the MLS board fees. You can hang your license with us and still make commissions. But I ended up finding out it was something called apartment locating. I was never shown apartment locating when I first got started in real estate. I still to this day truly believe, at least in the state of Texas, that if you're a new real estate agent, one of the ways that you can have a side income or earn some side income would be to dive into apartment locating. Because when you get started as a new real estate agent, none of your friends and family are going to use you because they think you're too inexperienced to know what to do. You have not built up any clientele unless you're somebody who came from a specific industry and people really just trust you right off the bat and you just immediately have clients as soon as you sign on. You typically will not have that happen to you. My TikTok blew up because I was just basically unafraid of going on camera and telling people that I could help them get into an apartment.
Stupid, guys. Is this camera on me?
Yes, it's on.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
Because half the battle with real estate is getting clients. That's what any industry is. You do need leads if you're going to be able to sustain or maintain anything. And something that I know about myself is I'm not afraid to get on camera. I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. I'm not afraid to be the face of whatever it is I'm representing.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
I have had so many different side businesses and things that I have tried over the years. A company that I started, it was called Writer for Hire. I did something called the Laptop League. I had my blog out there. I think I started my first blog, or I posted my first blog over 15 years ago. I was doing YouTube in 2010, 2011, somewhere around there.
I'm gonna do my first video, and I really can't do no videos with no hard-headed children awake. I gotta do my videos at night, and I don't even know how good you can see my hair, but what I did today was I put some fruit of the earth aloe vera gel on my hair.
I was on this site called Fotki, posting pictures of my hair. I was one of the people who started that name your hair thing that you see now, where people are like, oh, wigs are called, I don't know, Michelle or Karen or whatever. I truly believe, I can't prove this, of course, but way back in the day, I was one of the first people who named my hair, my natural hair, and I called it Esther. Next thing you know, I see that taking off, and people are like, oh, I named my hair this, and I named my hair that. This was like 2006, 2007 era, thereabouts. Again, this is one little side note that I just want to throw in here. I was one of the early adopters for social media for my age group. Everyone that I know of that's in my age group has been watching me from afar, fumbling through all of these things online, because my ultimate goal really was just to be free from the 9-to-5. And I'm looking at these kids and I'm like, these kids are making $20,000, $30,000 a month. I have to be able to figure this stuff out. The first $27 that I made online, before there was ever anything called an influencer, before even YouTube was really majorly a thing, when I made that $27, I was like, I got to figure out how to do this again. It was like my mind was blown. So anyway, I've been out here in these internet streets for a really long time. When I discovered apartment locating, I was like, this is so easy to market. It's legitimate. People need help with this. I can go ahead and do a program and create my own course called Locator Boss. And at the time when I started to create my course, I didn't know that there was someone else out there who created a course for apartment locating. And I'm not going to name that person on this video. They got scared is the best way I could describe it. People started talking about my videos that I was making on YouTube. My course was significantly less expensive than this other person's course. And one day they basically just jumped into my DMs and was like, have you taken my course? And I was legit honest. I said, no, I haven't taken your course. I didn't even know they existed before I started the wheels turning to, create my own course. And then they were like, hey, we should chat about this. If I find that DM or those messages, I might go ahead and post them somewhere in this video so you can see what I mean. But it was like this other person was getting scared. And the thing that I know about myself is I've always been like an idea person. I could kind of see like people could benefit from learning how this apartment locating stuff works. Next thing you know, I've got my own Facebook group. I was working with this company now they're called Digital Mentors. They started featuring me on their webinars to show my success with creating my course. It was a fun ride, but some of the mistakes that I made when I think back on it was I probably could have used a lot more assistance with just scaling stuff down a little bit, because here's the thing, I love teaching. I really, really love teaching. So when I started going down the whole course creation route, I wasn't quite sure how to price things. And the mentors that I had from Digital Mentors were basically saying like I was charging too little. I started looking at how much this other person was charging for their apartment locating course. And I started having people come to me and say, I wish I had discovered you earlier. I would have paid for your course instead of this other course. I spent so much money on that course, I can't afford your course now. And I just really started feeling like, yeah, I can go ahead and increase my price. And people started to pay it. But I just felt like with all things, I think that there's a point where you have to say you're gouging people or they're paying too much money for stuff that that they won't take action on. I know that sounds crazy.
Editing Bianca here. So what I'm trying so desperately to describe is the fact that people were coming to me who wanted me to do the work for them, but I wanted them to be able to capture leads just the way that I was able to do it quite easily using social media. So I was having this struggle between, do I just charge these people a bunch of money and I set up their lead generation stuff for them? Or do I just continue to charge the price that I charge on this course and then they still not take actions on anything? And I know most people are like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, just take their money. Why do you care if they get results? But I wanted them to actually do the work. And I struggled with that. So here we are today in 2025.
I ended up making over $20,000 on my course with just a very small handful of students. The parts of course creation that I didn't like was things like figuring out, would I have a refund policy? Would I not? I'm still paying hosting for Dropbox, believe it or not, for the people that did purchase my course. And they still have access to some of the little modules and things like that I created. The other person who DM'd me actually requested admission into my private Facebook group. And that's when I was like, girl, you really are onto something, because they just want to see what content you have. As a matter of fact, I do want to mention that people who took this other course creators course, they did offer to give me their login or share screens with me to show me what was in their course. And I declined. A lot of people don't have what I consider integrity. And I just said, I don't want to go and peek into this course because first of all, I didn't pay that $1,200, $2,500. I don't remember exactly what the price tag was on that course. It was significantly more than what I was charging for my course. And I just said, I'm not interested in y'all giving me access. That's how much my community and my students and everybody was like, we really like you, and we just want to show you what this other person is doing. And I was like, no. The way that I think about this is, you ever see like the scandals where comedians get called out for like copying comedians' jokes, other comedians' jokes? I felt like that. I was like, I don't want to even accidentally copy anything from this other person. This is my brainchild. I know how online marketing works. I know how to set up a capture page. I know how to generate leads. I don't need this other person's formula for how they made their course. So that brings me all back to today. Over the last more than a decade, I have been doing things online. It's all because my real goal is to be able to have the freedom to come and go and do the things that I want to do without being subject to the 9 to 5. What I basically learned is that you have an idea. I don't care what it is. If you are like a superstar knitter and you're like, I can knit the heck out of whatever it is. I think my generation, the Gen X folks, there are a lot of people that I talk to that are still stuck in the 9 to 5 grind. At the time of this recording, it is July of 2025. I'm still stuck in the 9 to 5 grind because I keep getting little successes and then I pull back, or something happens, like I got cast on a reality show. I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but that took me out of the state for a few weeks. And when I came back, I was like, you know what? I don't know that I want to continue on with this apartment locating, online course creation thing. I just feel like I keep failing forward, and each new thing that I try, just, it reminds me of what I don't want to do, or it shows me what I don't want to do. Like, I can only try things, and as I keep falling forward and I keep having these little micro successes, I would like to merge the two things together of my goal or my freedom to get out of the 9 to 5 grind with also doing something that I enjoy. And at the end of the day, what I've always enjoyed is just social media or digital marketing. So if you like this type of content, I'm gonna say subscribe for more freedom-based content. If you are trying to figure out how to get out of the 9 to 5 grind, I'm gonna show you my journey. See you next time. What's up, guys? It's your favorite it's your favorite over 40 content creator. It's your favorite over 40 person who wants to say